So today we are going to be continuing with learning about reflections. And for this first video, we're going to be talking about a glide reflection. So that's going to be a composition of transformations. And so a glide reflection is a transformation involving a translation. So that's what we learned about on Monday, followed by a reflection. And so what that looks like is if I'm starting here with my original PQ, I'm going to translate it, so I'm going to move it up or down or so, and then after that I'm going to reflect it across my line of reflection. And so I see I have two transformations that happen. I'm going to move it, and then I'm going to reflect it. So let's go ahead and practice this. So I have the image triangle ABC with these vertices, and I want to find the image after this glide reflection. And so kind of like how we did the composition, I'm going to just start with my first vertice and then go from there. And so for this first one I have a 3, 2. And my first step is I am going to translate it. And so since I am changing where it is, I'm going to call this next one A prime. And this rule is telling me I'm going to subtract 12 from my x-coordinate. And so I'm going to have 3 minus 12, and then my y is going to stay the same. And so 3 minus 12, I get negative 9, 2. But now I need to do my reflection. And so I have negative 9, 2. But now I need to reflect it. So I need to remember what my rule was for reflection in the x-axis. So I would, when you're doing these problems, I would have those rules right next to you from what we learned yesterday. And that will make your life easier because I know it can be hard to remember all of those. And so the rule for that one was that x stays the same, but I'm going to take the opposite sign of y. So my x is going to stay the same. It's going to be negative 9. But now I'm going to take the opposite sign of y, so this is going to become negative 2. Okay, now let's go on to point B. So my point B is at 6, 3. I'm going to translate it first. So I'm going to subtract 12 from my x-coordinate. My y-coordinate is going to stay the same. And so 6 minus 12, I get negative 6, and then 3. But now I need to go and reflect it. And so remember my rule, my x is going to stay the same, but then I'm going to take the opposite sign of y. So since the 3 is positive here, it's going to become negative. Okay, and then I'm going to do my last coordinate. So my last point is 7, 1. My first step is I need to subtract 12 from my x. So I have 7 minus 12. My y stays the same. Well, 7 minus 12, I get negative 5. And now I'm going to go ahead and reflect it. And so again, my rule is that my x stays the same, but I take the opposite sign of y. And so you notice I subtracted 12 always from that first one. And that next one, I just changed the sign of my y. So I start with the translation, and then I reflect next. Okay, go ahead and pause the video. I want you to try to do number 2 on your own. Okay, so these are the answers that you should have gotten. I first translated it by subtracting 4 from the y-coordinate, and then after that I reflected it in the x-axis, or the y-axis, and my rule for that was I changed the sign of my x-coordinate. Okay, that's it for this video. You can go ahead and move on to the next one where we will talk about line of symmetry.